Extrinsic motivation is a behavior driven by a desire to receive external rewards. These rewards can include money, fame, praise, and recognized educational achievement. To be extrinsically motivated means that you become more motivated to do something when external rewards are placed in front of you. Extrinsic motivation is a common motivational factor in our young age, from giving a small, often sweet, reward for finishing your homework on time, to telling yourself you'll finally purchase that new pair of shoes or video game if you get the promotion at work that you've been working towards. Extrinsic motivation is focused on gaining external rewards for a job well done. In this article, I'm going to look into what extrinsic motivation, look at the differences between intrinsic and extrinsic motivation, and look into extrinsic motivation examples in the workplace, in the classroom, and at home. Let's dive in. How does extrinsic motivation work? For extrinsic motivational techniques to work and for them to help you break bad habits, you must be consistent in providing a reward if the action is completed. Returning to the example of giving a sweet reward to your child for completing their homework, this behavior will only persist so long as the reward is consistently forthcoming upon them holding into their side of the bargain, completing their homework on time. The same is true for extrinsic reward of being paid to go to work or receiving a customer loyalty discount. As soon as these extrinsic rewards go away, it's unlikely that you will stick around much longer either. For more extrinsic motivation examples, scroll down to the extrinsic motivation examples section below. Intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation. The opposite of extrinsic motivation is intrinsic motivation. While they sound similar, intrinsic and extrinsic motivation work very differently from one another. Unlike extrinsic motivation, which focuses on external rewards, intrinsic motivation comes from the inside. If you are an intrinsically motivated individual, this means that you can more often than not become motivated to do something on the strength of your will alone. While the forces of intrinsic motivation are different for all of us, common forms of this type of motivation include a desire to succeed and show yourself that you can do something, a will to grow intellectually, spiritually, or otherwise, as a human being, and a desire to push yourself. That all forms of intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation have in common is they do not involve external rewards. For this reason, it is believed that all further long-term intrinsic motivation insists how to pronounce it correctly. Incentivizes behavior change to a greater degree than extrinsic motivation. While this may be true, it does not discount extrinsic motivational techniques to create a desired behavior. Beware the over-justification effect. As we have discussed, extrinsic motivation is a very real way to get ourselves or others to do something that we otherwise may not be intrinsically excited to do. There is a potential pitfall to extrinsic motivation that you should be aware of. The over-justification effect occurs when extrinsically motivated individuals cannot be motivated to do a particular task without receiving an external reward because they have become reliant. Let me check. Reliant? Is it?
Reliant.
Okay. Reliant on receiving a reward for performing the task. This is to say, consistency, receiving an award for doing something decreases a person's intrinsic motivation to perform that task. This can happen in a variety of ways. If you turn your hobby, such as writing, drawing, or another creative outlet, into a job, there's a good chance that as soon as you start being paid for your efforts, an extrinsic reward, the work itself will start to become less intrinsically motivating. Similarly, if you consistently reward your children with money, gifts, or other promised treasures in exchange for them receiving good grades in high school and college, if they later take on extra schooling in adulthood, they may soon find that, sans your extrinsic rewards, they are less intrinsically motivated than they originally thought. While you should keep the over-justification effect in mind when looking into different examples of intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation, don't let it put you off from giving the following external motivation examples the dues. Extrinsic motivation examples. Examples of extrinsic rewards are all around us, from customer loyalty points to a standing ovation. Let me check this one. Ovation. From sports trophies. Let me check this too here. Trophies to an annual pounds. The following external motivation examples are some of the most common. Getting paid to go to work. Other extrinsic motivation examples in the workplace include annual bonuses and vesting periods for company stock. Praise and public acclaim from making others proud to having the world at your feet. Prize money, trophies, and awards. Yeah. Buy one, get one free sales. Customer loyalty points and discounts. Getting paid for getting good grades. Doing something so you don't look bad. I hope the above definition of extrinsic motivation and examples of extrinsic rewards has helped to not only show you what extrinsic motivation is, but has convinced you that it is not a bad thing. Like anything, extrinsic rewards are a tool that can be deployed whether for your own sake or someone else's to help you work towards doing what you really want or need to do. Let me check if I want to read another article, maybe this one. It is not that I want to read, really. Your days. I was recently reminded of a post by Austin Collin in which he offered up these words. Success is closing the gap between what your days look like and what you want your days to look like. I've since hearing it, and it has become increasingly relevant as my wife and I have been feeling a newfound realization of the importance of the basics in life. Though we'll not minimalize this, something like this. Let me check it. Minimalists, despite this being something I described myself as and wrote about around the time I met her, we've come to realize that we have our own goals and ideas in life, and it's okay if they don't exactly match the goals and ideas of the people real, fictitious, or a composer. Let me check here. Composite we may aspire to be. Part of this is wrong. Part of this is growing older. I'm lucky in that my wife is 3 years younger than me. This is, of course, not the only reason why I'm lucky to be married to her. So I frequently come up with her age when considering our age. But the point is the same. What's going on about? Your days are all you have, and closing the gap between what they look like and what you want them to look like is a worthy goal. You will likely never close this gap all the way, and that's okay. There will be points in your life where this gap will feel like an unbeatable chasm. This is to be expected, but as Kellon notes, what do you want your days to look like is a question he asks himself whenever he is trying to make a decision about what to do next. In his own words, I believe that most questions about what to do with one's life can be replaced by this question. It forces you to imagine the day in, day out realities that making such choices will present you with. So what do you want your days to look like? I don't know. Let me check. I'm gonna pause a bit so I can choose another article. Well, I find another article here from another website. Doing something new is good for you. Personal perspective, consider doing something out of your routine. When you live When you live in routine, you don't have to think so much. Doing something new helps build flexible thinking and wakes up your brain, which is part of mental wellness. When you engage in a new experience, the brain is likely to release dopamine, which improves your mood. Routine can be so comforting and easy. I can eat the same thing for breakfast every day. Whole grain English muffin with plant-based butter and blueberries and nuts. If it is Monday, I exercise at 9. Start my work day at 10:30 and end by 6:30. In the evening, I'll read, play games, spend time with friends or watch television. Other days are pretty similar, with the main variation or author. Let me check it. Variations. Well, I know this word, but I'm surprised that I didn't know how to pronounce it. Variations being in my exercise routine. Is today strength training or palates? Palates. I think it's palates, something like this. Pilates. Training or Pilates has been especially true since the pandemic. While hundreds struggled and are struggling with too much to do, my life got simpler during the pandemic, mostly because it became much more limited. I'm grateful that, let me put this ad. I'm grateful that I don't have days filled with too much to do, too many demands, and extreme worry about love. And I'm also aware that there may be others who are getting stuck in isolated comfort or discomfort. Staying in a restricted routine may have come from the pandemic, but the lack of novelty is limiting to our mental health. Many days during the worst of the pandemic, I didn't even leave the house, and unfortunately, that can become a habit. When you live in routine, you don't have to think so much. That's a relief, right? But only to a certain extent. Too much predictability can become boring. The brain, according to neuroscientists, may be half asleep. You know what wakes the brain up? Doing something new. Listen to a youth talk about change. Well, I'm not going to listen to this. Doing something new is like bringing back that sense of awe that children have. You know, when a child sees his own face for the first time or sees a dog. Remember a baby's amazement over their own fingers. So beautiful to watch them discover their hands. That amazement over your own fingers is gone when you grow older. But that amazement over the world doesn't have to be. You haven't seen it all. No, not really. And you haven't doing it all. That can still be amazement. But you may need to step outside your comfort zone. while I'm changing my place from one to another. Okay, the amazement of your own fingers is gone when you grow old. But the amazement over the world doesn't have to be. You haven't seen it all? No, not really. And you haven't done it all. There can still be amazement, but you may need to step outside your comfort zone. Leave that routine you have and likely leave your home. You'll need to take a risk of doing something that you haven't done before. Risk, even a small one, can be difficult, but it can have a big reward. You may rediscover your excitement, interest in life. But more than that, it can help you be more flexible. Doing something new keeps you young in some ways and gives you a broader view of the world. Your vision of how things can be changes as you gain new perspectives. Doing something new builds flexible thinking. Flexible thinking is a part of psychological health. The good news is that you can develop more flexible thinking. You can actively work to consider ideas and views that you've never considered before. Imagine seeking out someone who has lived a very different life than you have, or someone with a very different political belief. Imagine stretching your mind to understand their point of view, whether you agree or not. Doing something new to develop flexible thinking can be simple, like trying an ice cream flavor you've never had before, or learning a game you've never played. Maybe you go to a part of your city you've never visited. Trying new things helps you learn flexible thinking. When you try new things, you develop more flexible thinking and you are likely to be a better problem solver. Trying new things is a way of exercising the brain. Let me close this out here. When I was much younger, I enjoyed being around older people, but I made a repeated commitment that I wouldn't get out of step with the times. I wanted to continue to know what was happening in the world. Some older people I knew were still talking about music, art, and books as they did 20 years ago. That would not happen to me, I thought. Recently, I realized I didn't know slang terms of today's youth. Okay, not so important, but also I didn't know the current actors and actresses who were well known to the younger generation. Again, maybe not so big a deal. However, as much as I prided myself on being technology savvy for my age, I was so far behind the 20-year-olds, and this was a big deal. I was not aware of the marketing trends that were mainstream for this generation. I didn't know the products that were important to young adults. I was losing touch. I was comfortable in my knowledge and the tools that I knew, and I didn't look for new experiences or options. That was a problem if I wanted to keep up with the world and not be outdated myself. Trying new things and being open to change extends into the work you do and the way you live your life. Never tried a video conference. Don't know what streaming means. Do you know what it means to funnel leads? Funnel leads. Let me check this one. Funnel. Trying new things is good for you. It can make your brain release dopamine, which leads to good feelings. Doing something novel helps you stay young and interested, and your novel interests are probably not the same as mine, but you can find the ones that are important to you. Okay, this out again. Well, I think I finished this article. Congratulations, me. Okay, there's 5 minutes to beat my goal. fear of failure. I'm going to read another article, which is this one here. The danger of delayed living. The time isn't guaranteed. Pursue purpose and relationships today. Live so you don't need a dramatic ending to find peace. Rewrite your story now. Don't rely on a Deus ex machina. Is it machina? Oh, let me check it. Machina. Whoa. I think this is something. Deus ex machina. Machina? Yeah, maybe. We all love a last-minute plot twist, especially when you're watching movies. Against all odds, the hero unexpectedly saves the day, making everything perfect just in time for the credits to roll. It's dramatic and it's satisfying. It is also a theoretical device known as Deus ex whatever, again this word, a sudden resolution that ties up loose ends in a way that you almost feels too good to be true. Oh, well, it is. But what if I told you that these last-minute plot twists don't just happen in movie? They happen in real life too, especially in my work with hospice patients. Let me check this one. Hospice patients. The last-minute redemption. Take, for example, a man I'll call Joy. A man I'll call Joy, I think. I met Joy 20 years ago when I was a hospice volunteer. He had grown up in a loud, laughing family in which he and his siblings were inseparable. But after their parents passed away, everything changed. A bitter fight broke out over who should inherit the family home. And in the fallout, Joy, let me check how to pronounce his name. Joe and his siblings stopped speaking. 20 years went by. In that time, Joe built a life of his own. He got married, had children, and created a world completely separate from the siblings he had once cherished. None of his family had ever met them. Okay, let me check this word here. Cherished. None of his family had ever met them. Then Joe was diagnosed with leukemia. He was dying in an inpatient hospice unit when I met him. By all accounts, Joe was a happy man. He had found peace with his life and even with his death. But there was one thing he couldn't shake: the unresolved rift with his brother and sister. So we called the chaplain. Let me check this word. It is a new one to me. Chaplain. We called the chaplain. The chaplain reached out to Joe's estranged siblings, who by chance still lived nearby. To everyone's surprise, they came in those final days, standing by his besides. The decades of hurt and resentment melted away. For a brief, precious moment, they were simply siblings again, and Joe died at peace. This is the well, let me check this one as a chunk word, because it is. Deus ex machina. Deus ex machina personified the unexpected, the last-minute reconciliation. It was beautiful, but it also makes you wonder, what if this had happened sooner? Well, I don't think it had sooner. Let me check this word. Reconciliation. Why waiting for a plot twist is a bad plan. Joe's story had a touching ending, but imagine what could have been if he had reconnected with his siblings 10 years earlier or 15 years earlier, instead of a fleeting moment of reconciliation. They could have had years together, family holidays, shared laughter, time to heal fully, rather than just making peace at the very end. And this isn't just about relationships, it is about purpose. It is about the person you want to be. It's about doing the things that truly matter to you. So many of us live as though we have all the time in the world, putting off the conversations, the changes, and the dreams we long to pursue. We assume that someday the time is right, we'll finally take that leap, mend that relationship, or start living the life we really want. But here's the truth: we are dying from the moment we are born, and none of us knows how much time we have left. The danger of delayed living. We tell ourselves that we'll chase our dream later, that we'll repair broken relationships later, that we'll prioritize what truly matters later. But later isn't guaranteed, and by the time we finally decide to act, we might be standing at the very edge of our own mortality, hoping for a last-minute resolution. Don't wait for wow, again, this word driving me crazy. Deus ex machina. Don't wait for the Deus ex machina to save you. Yes, as a hospice doctor, I'll do everything on my power to help my patients find meaning and closure in their final moments. But wouldn't it be so much better to live a life in which you don't need a dramatic last-minute twist? Wouldn't it be better to address what's unfulfilled now while you still have to truly enjoy the results? Today is your best chance. If something is tugging, let me check this word. Tugging at your heart. If there's a part of you that feels unfinished, unfulfilled, or unresolved, don't push it off for another day. There will never be a perfect time to start. Want to repair a broken relationship? Start today. Want to do something that feels deeply purposeful? Start today. Want to become the person you've always dreamed of being? Start today. If you wait for life to hand you the perfect moment, you might find yourself with barely any time left to appreciate. Live a life that doesn't need fixing. You don't have to, like a movie, waiting for some dramatic resolution to soup in at the 11th hour. You have the power to start rewriting your story right now. Live so that when your final moments do come, you don't need a last-minute plot twist to find peace. Live so that you already have it. Well, it's easier said than done, I suppose. Well, I beat my goal. 34 minutes.